Hello, my name is Michael Conneely, and this video tells you about the change in emphasis in December 2019 from the Saturn K2 transit in Vedic Sagittarius, Saturn South Node transit, to a different emphasis of Saturn Pluto transit, with the hinge time being now. You do see the associated blog. The blog address is below the video in the YouTube write-up. And to cut the long story short, my key advice is that the Saturn K2 conjunction has been bringing growing tension through 2019. That tension is declining now, because whereas Saturn and Ketu were in the same degree for a time, Saturn's now going forward and Ketu is continuing retrograde, backing towards the beginning of Vedic Sagittarius. But the two of them have brought tremendous tension. I have certainly felt it, and I feel what it is that negatively Saturn in fact represents all our blocks and our limiting scripts. Oh, I couldn't do that, and oh, I couldn't imagine this, and oh, I've no idea about that. And so, in other words, the negative manifestation of Saturn in our life is almost like prison walls being built around us. Now, when K2 started moving towards Saturn, K2 has a violent cutting energy, but for spiritual purpose. And we began to sense, oh gosh, there's something really wrong in our life. And tension mounted and mounted and mounted, and maybe we were blocked for doing anything about it. Now, what you have to do, one key to this, is to look at what house in your Vedic birth chart is Vedic Sagittarius. And so in my case, it's my 6th house of health, healing, and so I was ill for quite a long period, and eventually it brought matters to a head, and I've had wonderful healing, and I've stopped sort of doing things, handling my life and work in a way that made me ill. And in fact, to keep the not so good ways going, I sort of ate more and more to get energy and ate the wrong things, and so I became ill a year ago, October. But I've had the most wonderful healings, and I'm now healed, and I'm reorganizing my work and my life and really who I am and how I present myself. So what I'm trying to say is, I think all of us will have been experiencing a huge area of tension. And in fact, get an astrology reading, it will state the life area where something's wrong, and so the tension is growing. But now Saturn is moving forward away from Ketu, who's moving backwards in the heavens. And as Saturn moves forward through Vedic Sagittarius, what does he come up against but Pluto? The Saturn-Pluto conjunction is forming. And negatively, Saturn-Pluto is control freaks. Control. So what I want to say to you is, use this insight to handle the shift from suffering tension to bringing in healing and solution. And an image has come to me of us as Grail Knights carrying forward a holy grail. So the structure of the grail is Saturn, because Saturn is all about structure and containment. But what's inside the grail that you're carrying forward? Pluto. And Pluto is vast transformation. And so, in other words, work out a strategy in your life if that is needed. How can I sort out the situation that has been creating the tension? I might be living my life completely wrongly, and I need to alter it vastly. And so you work out a strategy to carry your grail forward. Now, what I'm saying is contained in the grail that I am now carrying forward is Pluto. And what is Pluto about? Well, Pluto is really our power and its power issues. But Pluto is, Lord of Hades. days. And so the truth is, you may well have to do like a journey to the underworld to face your blocks, pains and wounds, secrets and guilt, so that you can become the Grail Knight. You can become who you were meant to be. You can go forward. And so actually we offer an online journey to the underworld to meet Pluto as keeper of the abyss, to hand all that darkness and shadow stuff to Pluto, and he may ask a price of you for holding on to it and dealing with it, so that you can be lightened, so that you can then arise to meet Pluto not as keeper of the abyss, but as Kether, the crown chakra, with the divine inspiration freely pouring into your crown chakra. So there's a link in the blog to the online journey that we offer, which cross refers to your astrology, and certainly have an astrology reading to help you at this time. And so we look at your birth I look at your birth astrology, your natal astrology, Vedic astrology, and also Western astrology, referring to Western psychodynamic astrology and Western evolutionary astrology. So have the journey if you feel drawn to that, and have an astrology reading if you feel drawn to that. And what I want to read out is a statement really about fear. Fear can unman us or unwoman us. Fear can trap us in our prison. Fear can prevent us picking up that Holy Grail. Fear can prevent us carrying the Holy Grail forward. So there's a need for each of us now at these times to go through the 0 point, to face the shadow and emerge healed. This is the call to leave your 3D consciousness responses and patterns behind and embrace more enlightened consciousness. We may need to face fear now. We need to see the self that fear creates, our shadow self. Then we need to become strong in the face of that. Because what it offers now is a chance for healing and growth. To the extent that we are a bird who has lived in a cage all his life and was born in the cage, we may be shrinking back from freedom. So have a look at the blog, which goes into dates and details about the Saturn K2 transits turning into the Saturn Pluto transit. Have a look at the blog, which mentions journey to the underworld, which of course is also the Pluto Persephone journey in Greek mythology. Assuming you do the journey into the underworld to face your wounds, fears, guilts, blocks and secrets and hand them to the keeper of the abyss, and then can indeed arise lightened to connect Kether, your crown chakra, to the divine light, you may need to do reinforcement rituals to cement in the new you. Embodiment work is very good. Sound healing, dance therapy can be very good. Sound healing is really good. And there's a method mentioned in the associated blog post dealing with situations if childhood trauma comes to a head and at this time. So enroll for the journey into the abyss to meet Pluto. If you feel drawn to that, enroll for an astrology reading. Thank you.